This is incredible. Kind of expected, kind of confused, kind of expensive, and kind of mad how Tuchel getting sacked is probably why both Graham Potter has got the job, but also why he's lost the job. That's the ripple effect, which we'll be talking about tomorrow, but that's not for right now. Graham Potter has been sacked. The statement is out, and we're going to dive into this because Chelsea will be on their third manager of the season. Chelsea FC have announced that Graham Potter has departed the club. Graham has agreed to collaborate. Let's brainstorm here. Who do we want to get in? What? The collaborate bit I don't get. Can someone explain that to me? With the club to facilitate a smooth transition. Maybe he himself has gone, this is a bit much for me. Doubt that. I think he probably would have wanted to fight on, but I think there's also an element of respite because it just wasn't working, was it, at all? Just recorded the fallout, so there will be a video soon on the final match that essentially got him the sack and what was going wrong there. But a big part of it is that you can spin the stats. You can spin the stats for Graham Potter, even in that last game. Lots of shots, but just the goals haven't been there. We'll have a look at his record here. I think the bottom line for me is, as expensive as this will be, and let's get into that because look, you never know what tweets are correct and which ones aren't, but this looks pretty legit. The price of football, Kieran Maguire, known expert in this. So if you look at the bottom there, you can see on the 18th of September, 2022, the club was delighted to appoint Roberto De Zerbi as its new head coach following the loss of Graham Potter and his team to Chelsea a few days earlier in a deal that saw the club receive a sum of £21.5 million. £21.5 million to get Graham Potter in the door. So that's about £3 million a win. 3.1 mil in compensation for Brighton for each Premier League victory. Let's have a look at his record. 31 matches, 12 wins in that. It's ultimately not anywhere near good enough. You can want him to do well, and I think everyone kind of did. And for English managers, this is really not what you needed because Eddie Howe comes in, Graham Potter comes in, big clubs, big expectations, and Eddie Howe's done a wonderful job. Graham Potter, it all just felt a little bit too big for him. Literally from day one, it really, really did. And the results have suggested that after the Villa result, it's funny, isn't it? Because if you go back to it and you kind of go, well, look, if you're not going to... They didn't have to sack him. And after the Southampton game, when you are still in the Champions League and you haven't sacked him, you kind of might as well stick with him. Because we'll go back to the statement. The guy that's replaced it. Well, let's do that. Go to the statement. The guy who's coming in, Bruno Salter. So a lot of people will be Googling that name. This is Bruno Salter. You remember him as a right back for Brighton. A legend at Brighton as a player. Great captain as well for them as well. Has nowhere near... First of all, nowhere near the expertise and experience to deal with this kind of job as Graham Potter does. Now, I get a change, but obviously you've got to kind of clear the decks and I think bring someone in who's going to energise that group with some kind of gravitas. I think that's the biggest weakness that Graham Potter had, and his style of management wasn't a great fit for Chelsea because that is a ruthless football club. And this is what I said. Go back, search it on my channel right this second after this video. This club will eat him alive. That is what I said. And, you know, on the ripple effect with Rory, we spoke about, you know, that is the way that Chelsea are. You know, for good or for bad, for a hell of a lot of trophies, it's worked. And that record is not acceptable. But to bring in Bruno, I don't get it. You know, bring in an experienced head, have someone ready to go, unless they, of course, have got someone ready to go. 12 wins, 8 draws, 11 losses, goals for, I think this is a big thing here, goals for 33, goals against 31. They created a lot of chances. And bizarrely, despite spending 600 mil or however you want to spin it, on a lot of players and a lot of forwards, I think they had 11 forwards, the inability to score goals, despite playing good stuff, yes, it's a confidence thing. And that is where Graham Potter somehow, with these elite footballers, has been found incredibly wanting, because I think the general play is good at times. I think you've got a lot of players with rock bottom confidence, but that comes back to him. And for them to be making such silly errors like they did in the Aston Villa game, once, twice, 3 times a player's problem, but the 4th time, it's got to be on Graham Potter and it's got to be on his shoulders. Was he the future for Chelsea? I don't think he was. I think that was becoming more and more apparent. But kind of, and I guess it's one of those, do you then just give him the end of the season? Or do you think you've got a better chance of salving a Champions League run and winning a trophy there by changing it up? But is Bruno that guy? We've got 2 Brunos already. Do we need another Bruno? I don't know. Very odd. I think part of this, you would imagine, is they want to get Nagelsmann now. Or they want to get their guy now before someone else pinches them. They would have had these conversations, this idea that people don't talk to each other until a manager's gone. Nonsense. Another word starting with B. They were chatting to people. No, you just wonder, don't you? The fact that Chelsea sack Tuchel, and that means that Tuchel's available. So, and maybe, I mean, no, probably not. Maybe because of the Tottenham job, Tuchel, they pulled the trigger Bayern Munich because they want him ahead of Nagelsmann. So Chelsea sacking Tuchel means that Nagelsmann's now available, which has probably led to Chelsea pulling the trigger here. Feel sorry for Potter. I massively, massively do. I think there's been a lot of games where there's you've seen nice enough stuff. Too many players in this squad. One thing he didn't do, and it has to be on his shoulders, is go, this is my team. This is how I want to play. This is how you're going to play. You're going to get chemistry with this team, and we'll go from there. He has had other problems as well. Hell of a lot of injuries. I always say, I think Brozier not being available was a massive one. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but to have that figurehead central striker, I think would have been very useful for them. The World Cup coming in, and all those players obviously inevitably going to play in the World Cup. So you had this long period of time, this break in the season, but as well, in as much as that, you weren't having that actual time to work with the players and get what you wanted instilled, because Chelsea have so many international stars. And then you come back to it, and he just hasn't been able to find an answer. You know, playing Mudryk as an advanced forward, he's not taking those chances. So many players coming in. I'll tell you what, though, I've seen him hit the bar about 5, so many times. João Felix and Enzo Fernandez. Some of those players that seem to have some nice little partnerships. It just hasn't happened for him. The money here is going to be very interesting. As I said, 21 mil just to get him through the door. That's a 5-year contract Graham Potter has. So it's going to be around 70 million or something like that. I've heard a couple of bits from a couple of people. 70 odd million for the whole thing in terms of getting him in and then getting him out and his team over a 5-year deal. Incredible payoff for Graham Potter. Does he become the Tottenham manager now? There's so many consequences to this. I actually wonder, that word collaborate that we'll go back to here. I just wonder. I wonder if you're like, this ain't working. This isn't for me. I don't want this anymore. And I'm going to get myself out and enjoy my payoff. And I wonder if there's even been a compromise on the payoff. That will all come out in the wash. Unbelievable stuff. Who do you want as your new manager? How do you feel about Bruno? How do you feel about Graham Potter? Let me know in the comments below. I come back to the fact that, fair enough, it's really not worked. Is he a bad manager? No. Has he got the personality? And that sounds really basic. But has he got that personality to fit at Chelsea? It just didn't feel right, did it? If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.